Hi, Annie. Are you ready to present?
Yes.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Can I get a reaction to see if anyone's still here? Thank you, Ayami. Thank you, Tapana. Yeah. Okay. Great. I think everyone's like slowly coming back.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so allow me to share my screen. Great. I hope everyone can see my screen well.
Yes.
So today I want to talk about a topic that I'm continuously been researching about and growing curiosity into. That's not only has a big influence on my work, my professional work, but also my passion project. So I would love to have a open discussion and sharing with everyone about what I've been doing so far. Yeah, topic called building creative confidence in product teams. So yeah, how we can empower collaboration and innovation for quality products for product excellence. So hi, good evening. My name is Annie. As I mentioned in the beginning, Annie is my nickname. My real name is Phuc, and I'm originally from Vietnam. I've been here in Japan for 6 years, and this is my third year working in Rakuten Travel as a designer and UX researcher. So it's very interesting that we have Suzu from business side and then Grace doing testing, and then I'm on the design. So very interconnected jobs, but also very different in our own ways. Yeah. And outside of work, I'm also running Kriaba, which is an educational platform helping creative minds find creative confidence to think, create, and solve. So I'm very passionate about how can we learn upskills our mindset and how we can use it to create, to innovate, and so on. And did you know that Japan is an innovation leader, ranking in the top 25 of the GII? And maybe some of you don't know what GII stands for. So it actually stands for the Global Innovation Index. And in 2023, Japan actually ranks 13 among 132 economies in the top when it comes to innovation. However, when you actually look into the report, Japan produces less innovation output in relation to its level of innovation input. So output here, especially when it comes to creative output, intellectual property, human capital, and research, it's not doing so well. I first came to Japan because I was very drawn to Daiso. Like the product from Daiso, are like your lifesaver for everyday things. Like you have like the little socket for your cords, and then you have like a banana case for your banana so they won't go bad. I thought that was super innovative. But once I started working, especially in the digital space, I definitely saw like a big gap between physical product innovation versus digital product experiences. And that's why I am in this space trying to close the gap and improve the experience for users. When it comes to innovation, Japan has its strengths and weaknesses. There are a lot of strengths, as mentioned on the slide, but when it comes to weaknesses, I am particularly interested in why are we not doing so well when it comes to education investment. There is a lack of entrepreneurship policies and culture in society, in the workplace, and especially when it comes to the export of cultural and creative services, definitely Japan has a lot to improve on. So these are the areas that I'm particularly interested in researching and have how I can try to improve it in my day-to-day work. So who here thinks they are creative? Can I get a hands up, a reaction? I see crickets. That's okay. That's totally expected. Uh, I think when we hear the word creative, we're thinking like, oh, it's probably someone who can draw a pretty picture. I am so bad at drawing. I probably can only draw stick figures, so I'm not creative. Well, that is not creativity, as you can see from Jake. That is, in my opinion, artistry. How to use different mediums to express like a concept or a feeling. But what I mean when it comes to creativity is the ability to think, to create, to solve, to tackle everyday problems, and to be curious about something and try to inject your opinions and your approach into a concept or a problem and so on. So that's what I mean by creativity. So now, who thinks they have creativity in them? Can you raise your hand? Okay, I see a few people a bit more. Yeah, so for sure, I think that everyone is creative, but not everyone can confidently say it at the beginning. And so this really brings my curiosity to the topic of creative confidence and what is it? So Tom and David Kelly wrote an excellent book in 2013. It's called Creative Confidence. And at its core, creative confidence is about, believing in your ability to create change in the world around you. So how do you perceive a product that you use? How do you perceive a political, societal, economical situation around you? And how do you approach it? So because I already mentioned everyone is creative or everyone can be creative, this ability, this skill set, this mindset can actually start from any stakeholder, whether you are a student, an individual contributor, a tester, product manager, designer, and even higher management, director, manager. This mindset and this toolkit of the skills can start from any stakeholders. So I really believe in the power of fostering creative confidence as a culture in an organization because it really promotes experimentation, promoting risk-taking, encouraging divergent thinking, and encouraging collaboration, opportunity to exchange ideas, opportunity to learn from one skill set, one uniqueness from an individual where they think they excel in, and when it comes to creativity. And as a collective group, how do we exchange ideas and how can we collaborate and come together to address a more complex or sophisticated challenge? So I mentioned before that Japan has some weaknesses when it comes to innovation. And in reality, we can see that the consequences of those weaknesses being, for example, skill mismatch and shortages, or lack of investment in creative functions, or as we can see in the ecosystem, there is a fragment of ecosystem and lack of collaboration. What I mean by this is being very siloed function inside the company or the organization, or at least when I talk for my function in a company as a designer in a more structured and big company, designers are still unfortunately seen as a siloed entity. Sometimes most of the decision making goes to business unit or development unit, and after the requirements have been decided, after the discussion has been done through, for example, product manager, they're the one who align expectation with developers, business, marketing, QA. And then finally, once the requirements are set, then they actually share the requirements to designer and we are expected to make the changes. So there's not a lot of autonomy, at least for designers in more traditional Japanese company. And as a result, less collaboration, less creative output, less innovation, less intellectual property, going back to what the report was saying before. So in my belief, if we are able to build creative confidence as a skill set and promoting it not just inside the designer, but promoting it across stakeholders, then we can actually address the challenges we mentioned before. So having that creative confidence, for example, we can empower individuals to adapt and upskilling. So seeing the designers more than just people who push its pixel, but seeing them as like an opinion, having more opinion and direction on the table. And likewise, for other non-designer contributors, they can actually share the input on how to improve the user experience. Secondly, having that creative confidence can emphasize on nurturing the creativity, which is what I said before, to think, to create, and to solve. Promoting the culture of just giving it a shot, testing, validating your hypothesis, pivoting, reiterating, doing it in a more agile and more risk-taking, more calculated risk-taking approach. And finally, creative confidence for sure. When you share your knowledge and expertise to a more diverse group, then you can promote the culture of knowledge exchange, skill sharing. And when those exciting discussion from people with different backgrounds and different opinions come together, there's definitely like a more rich conversations gonna begin, which might lead to more opportunities for assumption again, to test, to innovate, and to work together. Yeah, so with everything I've mentioned so far, how do I, as a UX designer, pixel pusher, UI designer, and also educator, how am I building creative confidence for my teams at work, and also my team at Kriapa? So I'm gonna share 3 case study. First case study is doing problem solving workshop with my product teams at work. So when we talk about user experience, people only think about designer, think about how do people navigate through the pages seamlessly. It's very it's very pushed on that single entity. But what I try to do with this workshop is to introduce my product team, specifically product manager, on some design principle on how we can learn about user-centered design. And in particular, this workshop was focusing on accessibility, how to improve accessibility for our product. And when it comes to accessibility, it's not a designer's job only. It can come from product manager when they write product requirements. It can come from tester because they are the one who making sure that the product passes the requirements and ensuring high quality for the implementation before we actually release it. So this workshop actually was a great chance for non-UX designer to have an actual point of view and to empathize with what it means to design from the user's perspective. And as a proof of concept, I run it with my product team, and we got a really good response from the feedback form. So more than half of our participants mentioned that the lessons or the workshop was very practical, and they see themselves using what they learned, what they learned from the workshop to their everyday life. And don't take my word for it, take my team's work for it. After the workshop was done, in the past, I would say 3 months from now, a lot of projects have been coming up that are not only coming from designer, but also from other development members. So for example, scaling design system across products was actually initiated by developer. Accessibility improvement tickets because we run a multinational product, global product. So we need to think about different markets and localization strategy. So product managers have been talking to localization team on how to improve it. Likewise, actually this morning and yesterday, I actually got a lot of feedback from the test engineer who were going through my design on suggestion how to improve the label proposal. So that was very shocking to me, but I honestly thought like I'm so happy that they actually voice up and request me to think about it. So that's what some of the projects from the individual team, but through the whole team itself, we were trying to align our understanding of product requirements and what an initiative that came up from that discussion is to adopt feature file as a source of truth. So we actually trained the whole Scrum team to learn about how to read, how to write, and how to understand feature files. So I'm confident to say that these workshops to push different teams to learn about what other teams are doing actually can result in innovative solution, big or small, that can actually improve the product and the team processes. Okay, case study number 2 is something that I do outside of my professional work, which is to deliver design thinking workshops to students around Japan and also to early career professionals inside the company. I really love the design thinking framework as an introductory exposure to how to get yourself, how to detach yourself from your own assumption and learn and try to approach a problem from the end user's perspective. So since 2022, I've been teaching design thinking to tech new grads at my company. That includes product manager, developers, and QA engineer on how to take current processes at the workplace and how to improve it using design thinking workshop. So you see on the right here, we try to do an interview on how to improve employee well-being inside the company. This is actually something that, for example, corporate or HR has to think about, but well-being actually affects everyone in the company. So this was a really good chance for themselves as the end user to try to propose a way to improve their own experiences. And on the left side, I do it externally outside of work, bringing design thinking workshop again to different stakeholders. So here I was working with high school students on how to help them think about ways to promote their activities to middle school students via the design thinking framework. Yeah, and likewise, after it's not just like me trying to convince people that you are creative and you can think, create, and solve, but actually measuring how effective is creative confidence gonna benefit the team or the project. So similar to the internal workshop, every workshop that I do after, I always make sure to measure the NPS score and tracking how practical are these project-based learning activities, these workshops are actually beneficial and actually instill innovative thinking in the participants. So luckily, and I'm very fortunate to say that after 5 years of doing this, 5 years unprofessionally, and in the past 3 years more professionally, there has been a great correlation between before and after the participants join my initiative. So I definitely believe that continuing to do these activities to help people think from a different perspective, to creatively approach a problem and try to solve it by working together is going to bring fruitful results. And in particular, for my design thinking workshops at work, I've been able to pitch it to HR team, and now the workshop has been running annually since 2022. And for the workshop that I do outside of work, after running it by myself since 2019, I finally tried to put a structure onto it. And that's what I've been doing currently at my project called Kriapa. Okay. So that's the end of my case study number 2. And the last case study I want to share is actually at Kriapa. So as I'm learning more about creative confidence, I'm actually also really not sure what are the use cases of creative confidence. So through Kriapa, I'm hoping to upskill the next generation of creators, builders, and makers while figuring out how to do it. So a lot of iteration have been coming and going. We've been working with a lot of interesting people in the community and try to understand them, what does creativity means for them. And there's been a lot of collaboration and lots of workshop touching on different aspects. So at Kriapa, we've been continuing to deliver workshop, whether online or offline, once a month. And after the success story of design thinking professionally at work, and for the past 5 years doing it by myself, now we're trying to put a more structure into design thinking and try to evangelize the idea at Kriaba. So yep, we're actually starting a new cohort starting from today. So if you are interested, then you can definitely like search us up on LinkedIn or on our website. Yeah. So to quickly wrap up, I touched on like a couple of points today, but I want to bring everyone's attention back to 3 points. So one, Japan is an innovation leader, yet there are still pressing challenges that needs to overcome. Second, creative confidence is a great starting point from individuals to teams to organization, for individuals to teams to organization, and thinking back about the case studies that I shared. And if you are, after this talk, you want to learn more about creative confidence, how to start, look for opportunities to learn, to teach back, to educate people, to engage in opportunities where you can work with different stakeholders and find a way to work collaboratively together to innovate a product or a process, whether in your work or in your daily life. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. That's the end of my talk for today. So yeah, I would love to engage and like answer any questions that you might have or connect with you all online. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie-san. So we got 4 questions so far. Okay. The first one, what is the way to brush our creativity? Where are you?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. What's a good way to brush our creativity?
Yes.
I would say to ask a lot of questions, to be curious. I really like this framework of like the WH framework. So what, when, where, who, why, how. So when I see a design on the street, or when I experience some kind of processes in my everyday life, I always ask like, why is it built this way and not the other way? I think it really helps when you come from a different culture from Japan, because probably like that cultural differences are gonna like give you a lot of like are moment, like huh moment. So when you have like those confusion moments in mind, like don't let it go, like try to hold on to it and like try to figure out like why is it happening this way and why not the other way. And as you train your mind to be curious, I think at one point you're gonna be like so enthusiastic or so agitated that you want to find a way to solve it. So I think that's my personal exercise of how I brush up my creativity skills.
Thank you. And what is the reason behind Japan's low creativity outcome rate while input is high?
Yes, so I think I can only speak based on the the report that I read. So you said like the why is the output less than the input? I think there are many reasons, but for example, I can talk about the cultural and creative export, the reason why. Interestingly, I think Japan has a very strong domestic consumption. So whatever works inside the country, it works really well, but it doesn't mean that it might work outside. So I think there's like a big barrier to entry and barrier to go outside of that little bubble. I don't know if I can give an example right now. Probably like cash. I think cash still works really well in Japan. I was in the south of Japan in Oita, like the countryside of Japan. I remember when I went to the ATM, I still use my bank book to go to the ATM. I never had a card with me, but it works perfectly fine. But if I bring the bank book outside of Japan, there would be nowhere I can actually use that bank book. So I think it's a dilemma. What some stuff works really well inside Japan, so they're stuck with. Sometimes they are a bit stuck on the mindset that if it works well for us, then that's great. So I think in order to increase the amount of IP creation and innovation that can work globally, I think the mindset also have to shift as well. Was it from Misu? Right?
Yes, yes. So it answers my question. Thanks a lot. But maybe if we have time, I have a follow-up question after your explanation. So does it mean that Japan or Japanese people have to improve their global way of thinking? Maybe align their mindset with the other parts of the globe?
Mm, this is gonna be based on the conversations I've had with some VCs. So as you can see, the innovation weakness, one of the reasons is entrepreneurship culture. And when talking about the startup ecosystem, lots of VCs look for bilingual entrepreneur. So not only Japanese but also English. However, based on the conversation I had, the startup founders in Japan, not everyone is confident enough to talk and communicate or even like share their opinions in both languages. So a result would be entrepreneurship is very set in a specific way, and that's why like their mindset is also in a very specific way, and it's not catching up to the demand from like globally.
Thanks a lot. Yes.
I think education, like how Japanese education is like, we don't tend to think why. I think, but other country, maybe you are educated like why, like you mentioned like why, like how, and that. Like we don't question much, and then I feel one of the reasons is like education is also related. I don't know. What do you think?
I think not just Japan, but even Vietnam. Well, I've been out of Vietnamese education for like 8 years now. But for example, in the classroom, the teacher, like in Japanese, it's like "okyasama wa kami-sama," but in education, like "sensei wa like kami-sama," like everything your teachers say is the correct way. So as a student, you're not encouraged to question yourself. You're not encouraged to think critically or even challenge back to the teacher. So you don't really have a lot of opportunities to think, to create, and to solve. So I think it's not just in Japan. Maybe it's a very prominent problem, but I do see that it's a pattern in a lot of countries in Asia as well.
Yes, thank you. Okay. The next question. What challenges did you face when learning and applying design thinking skill on your work?
Oh, I love this question. Because design thinking is very ideal. I don't personally, even though I teach design thinking, I don't believe 100% that design thinking is the way to go. It's very idealistic. There's like 5 steps to design thinking, and when we do the workshop, we tell the participants to follow step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in reality, when you work with a lot of stakeholder, there's gonna be pushback. There's gonna be deadlines. There's gonna be requirement changes. There's gonna be legal requirements as well. So a lot of external factor. So I think as an introductory to putting yourself outside of your silo and into the end user's point of view is a really good way to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and work together to figure it out. However, when it comes to practice, I think you really need to take bits and bits of the design thinking framework, so not the exact framework, not the linear way, but to take like some parts of it and adapt it to whatever is in need for your team.
Okay, thank you. And next question. I think this is the similar to the first question, but how to practice and upskill design thinking in everyday habit?
Yeah, I think I will go back to my point of like when you in your daily life when you have that feeling of like, あれ? or like, なんかちょっと like this doesn't seem right. I think when you find yourself in like confused or upset, or actually on the other spectrum, if you feel something is working really well compared to your expectation, I think you can then go back to thinking like, why is it designed this way? Who is it being designed for? What problem is this product or service trying to solve? Yeah, I think that's how, yeah, I would definitely go back like to my intuition. I think it's also because I really trust my intuition and really holding on to like my opinions when I have that like sense of confusion in mind.
Okay, last question. Can you provide more information about the design thinking workshop that you will be conducting?
Yes, for sure. I can put the slides back. Yeah, so you can just go on the website kriaba.org/design hyphen thinking. Yeah, we just opened the workshop from today. And if you sign up during this week, there's gonna be a special discount for early bird sign up. But if you are interested in Kriaba activities in general, we also not only do design thinking, but we co-create with our community members to understand what is it that they need or what is it that they want to explore. And we will work with our creative communities or industry expert to bring your ideas or your suggestions into life. So yeah, definitely follow Kriaba on LinkedIn. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.